Welcome to the Called to Defend podcast, where we are interceding into your day. I'm Caleb Elliott, and this is Josh Davis, who looks severely disappointed in me. Josh, how you doing?
I'm always disappointed.
I know, buddy.
Always disappointed. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fan-diddly-dee-tastic.
Oh my gosh. I have a feeling people who like actually tune into this, they're like either they're watching and they're like enjoy the intro, or they're like, and I'm out.
That's fair. That is very fair.
So we're going to be looking now towards Moses in his events on the mountain. Except we're going to do more like a look at the forest than the individual trees like we did with Genesis. Just because, one, there's way too much stuff there. We'd be here for a long time. Two, there's enough stuff in there that it would seem like we're pulling away from the mountain point.
Yeah.
And they could be better off served for like different themes. Like we'll reference the temple towards the end, but there could be like a whole temple theme.
Right.
There could be a whole priestly theme. And those kinds of things. Or sacrificial. They could do all those kinds of things. They're obviously tied to that mountain, but if we spend time going over every single one, it'd be kind of like the Sermon on the Mount. Like we'd want to do it, but it'd be better off doing a whole theme, a whole thing for those. Versus like, let's do an overarching scene. What is Moses' role with the mountain? And when we get to like the Sermon on the Mount, what is the overarching theme, the purpose of the Sermon on the Mount? What is here from the mountain point of view? What's happening? And then that can set up for a future study later. So this may take one episode, it might take two. It to me is like, if one hand feels a little wrong to do it in one episode or two episodes, but I think that's the better way to do it for the overarching story, because then we would go to someone like David and see like the comparisons between Moses and David's and the pros and negatives. And I think we do it this way, we can see those pros and negatives a lot easier.
Yeah.
So we're going to start actually with Exodus chapter 2, which just because of the opening there, I just find really interesting, which is, and a man from the family of Levi went and he took a descendant of Levi, and the woman conceived and she gave birth to a son. She saw him that he was a fine baby and she held him 3 months. And so she hid him 3 months. She probably held him too, but but it's that, okay, we've just spent the first chapter learning about the state of Israel with Egypt, which is not good. We're in a really rough spot.
It's an understatement.
Yeah. It is like, the fascinating thing, we mentioned this last week, is how it's the reversal of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, but on a grander scale. Or it's like Genesis 10 and 11 with the building of the Tower of Babel on a grander scale.
Yeah.
Like now it's not just like we're acting out in disobedience, we're enslaving people in that disobedience. So we're going even further.
Yeah.
It's like things are just constantly getting worse within the human realm, which is just
big shocker.
I know. But then we get to chapter 2. So there's all the setup in chapter 2 where we get the beginning of the narrative of Moses. And, you know, the very fact that it clarifies that he's a Levi. With that opening statement, like we've been kind of clarifying who's who already, but the Levites have a very important role within the Torah due to their office.
Right.
And Moses, interestingly, because of that connection, takes on 2 roles. Just from the very fact that, one, by who he is, even though he's not given that exact name of priest, since that's what the Levites are, he still functions priestly.
Definitely. Yeah.
And he most certainly functions as a prophet. Now, he doesn't take on the king role. He takes on a leadership role. So if you want to throw king in there a little bit, you can. It's a little bit of a stretch in my opinion.
I think that would be a stretch.
Whereas like, and then David, for instance, we'll see him. He takes on the kingly role and a prophetic role. He sometimes takes on a priestly role, but not to the degree that like Moses takes it. So, but then you have like Jesus, who takes on all 3 roles in its fullest capacity. It just doesn't look like it in some narratives based on our conception of what kingly is supposed to look like. And that's kind of the fun picture that he plays with. But that opening line that, okay, Moses' first mentioning is the fact that he's born of a Levite. And then we have the whole, he's being hidden. He's then put in his own little ark that's going down the water. And then so you get a little Noah theme that's going on there. So escaping into life, who then was interestingly saved by Egypt. I mean, God through Egypt. So the one who's cursing like them is the vessel that's going to save them. And then he's being brought up. You have the instance where he murders the Egyptian for beating on the Hebrew, calls out all these questions between him and the Israelites, and he books it.
Yeah. Before we move on, I really want to quickly say, I like how you put it there, where it's, right, the thing that's cursing them is the thing that's going to save them. That sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah.
Right? That curse of death, and yet we are saved in part through death.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have not thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. No, it's interesting how Moses, he pulls on so much of, in his own life, pulls so much on things that just happened previously in Genesis, and also sets up so many things that's going to happen forward.
Right. To quote a proverb, not from Proverbs, but just human proverb, history does not repeat, but it does rhyme. Right? Like you see, a little bit of a tangent, but I always get a kick out of when people say, well, history is going to repeat itself. Well, no, the events that happened are never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Similar events might, right? So that's where you get, it doesn't repeat, it rhymes, right? The events of Genesis have happened. They're not going to happen again. But Genesis is a microcosm of the entirety of humanity.
Yeah.
And therefore, it will rhyme.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to see a lot of things repeating, continually going forward. And as we mentioned it in the past, how it's all building as well, right? Like, so you get each time that history rhymes, if you will, stick with the metaphor, it adds another verse.
Yeah.
Right? And then that verse eventually completes the stanza, and then the stanza carries on in the poem, and eventually the poem is fulfilled in Christ.
Yeah.
Right? In that perfection, in that ideal standard of who Christ is.
Right. Well, there's a book I've been recommending in our live streams from the Exodus narrative, by Brian Estelle and Alistair something. I'm just blanking what it is right now. But both are called Echoes of Exodus. So they take it's a similar concept of rhyming, but they treat it as like an echo. Like you hear it's repeated in some way. It may not be as strong in some places, or might be as strong, but it's still like, it's that repetition of sort. It might not be the exact same as the previous one, but it's still there and it's repeating over and over again with that rhyme.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get those near rhymes, like in sometimes in poetry, definitely in like the hip hop community, they use a lot of what's known as like near rhymes, where they have a word where they may just enunciate it slightly differently, or they'll rephrase it or repronounce it, maybe emphasize a letter more than others, or they take one that it just sounds close enough, even if it doesn't follow the rules of rhymes, but because of the human voice, it catches it. Yeah. And it's the same thing kind of with that idea.
And I love moments of that in poetry, because it really does kind of reflect the human idea there, which is, we're not perfect, but we're going to try. We're going to get close. It's not quite going to be right, but that's where God's grace comes in and says, even though it's not quite right, it's enough.
Yeah.
Because I have deemed it to be enough. Not because of anything that you have done.
Right.
Nothing you have done has made your close to it, not quite right effort enough. Only because I say that's enough.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
But here's another thing too to keep in mind before we go even further. So the other important thing about mentioning the Levites is, if we think about, if our understanding of tradition is correct, which is Moses wrote the first 5 books, he's obviously writing these after they've already done the exodus from Egypt. Now, where exactly does that fit into when he wrote each one? There's different thoughts on that, and how that plays into during the events, which one was written and where and when. But for the Jewish mindset, or in this case, the Hebrew mindset, they would already know that a Levite is tied to a priestly thing. So it's not like anachronistic to be like, oh, you're mentioning a Levite, and therefore it's just this, like, and therefore it's priest. Like, I was not. No, they would have known, like, Levite, priest, but he's also functioning as a prophet. We're about to see that ordination of the prophet in the priestly moment, where it's not really not received well. It's almost kind of like, it's not as bad as Jonah's not receiving well, where he's like full blown running away, and it's but it's definitely worse than Ezekiel, where he sits and pouts for 7 days. I mean, saying pout is not the best way to put it.
I was going to say, I mean, in fairness, imagine what he's just seen.
Well, there's that, but he also, like, the grammar there alludes to the fact that he's not happy about what's going on.
No, I wouldn't be either.
He's like, It's like, what the heck just happened? And what do you mean? No, I'm not doing this. And Moses is like, do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. It's like the whole Polar Express, but instead of I didn't, I can't do it. Just on repeat.
I know. I understand his more timid nature, right? Of this is a man who has already suffered a lot in his life.
Yeah.
And anybody who is called by God knows it's not going to be a fun time, right? Like, that's where you get Ezekiel and Jonah being like, no thank you.
Yeah.
Right, to the point where Jonah runs away and you just said Ezekiel sits and pouts. I mean, it's not a fun life to be a prophet. It is a miserable one. You will be hated for most of your life, and it's only after you are dead that you are proven right.
Yeah. Like there's like Isaiah who's like, send me, I'll do it. And then like Ezekiel's like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening? And Jonah's like, I ain't doing this. I'm not going to them. I don't want this to happen. But like, it's just interesting the different roles the prophets take. Because sometimes they take an interceding role and sometimes they don't. Ezekiel is told you're not allowed to take an interceding role. You will not intercede for them. Whereas you have like other prophets like, no, you can. Right. And like you're encouraged to. And there's places where Ezekiel starts to, but he's outright told you're not allowed to intercede for them. Their judgment time has come. You are just my messenger.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to do. And
that's a lot of the minor prophets too.
Right.
Like Hosea is very big on, I am just a messenger here. It don't look good.
Yeah. What plays into the idea of like the roots for what prophet means, like this word that comes from before, like this message is just preceding you, as coming to you, that's been spoken beforehand. There's more that we could say about like the exact roots for it. It's not like a perfect definition I'd provide there from like lexicons. That's just my brief summary of it, I guess you will. But we're going to see how this Levite is about to go from this person who's on an exile. Mm-hmm. First off, in his hiding, and then his actual being almost like separated from the rest of the Israelites.
Right.
And then his leaving in exile, like himself exiling, if you will.
Yeah.
Where he's running off because he was like, I'm not going back. And now he's going to get called back into this place.
Yeah.
And he's going to be called into like a major set of roles. He's going to have to just, as he tells Job, basically buckle up, stand up like a man. It's time to get to work. We're going to do this. And it's going to be interesting because Moses' role, being looked at as one of the greatest prophets, if not the greatest prophet within the Jewish mindset.
Certainly, I would say within the Jewish mindset, yeah.
Will be like, almost like within the Tanakh, the standard.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, we know that he kind of falls short of that standard. But for right now, he's going to set that kind of like that standard of what that looks like. And why sometimes like Ezekiel being told not to intercede is such an interesting big deal. Right. Because of the role he takes. And that's going to be where we turn next with like Exodus 3. So in Exodus 3, we get Moses is a shepherd now. He's off with the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law in Midian, who is also a priest in Midian. I mean, he's not, but his father-in-law is. And then he goes and he's around the mountain, what's called the mountain of God in verse 1, to Horeb.
Yeah.
And the angel of Yahweh appeared to him in the flame. So just like that famous passage, you get the burning bush, you got the flame. We did a whole presentation on this passage very briefly. But it is here at Horeb that Moses sees something. It's like, hold on, that bush is burning, but it's not at the same time. Right. And there's a figure there too. But then also places this idea like there's two figures, which is one figure, but there's two figures, and the whole communication kind of blurs between the two figures, or if there's one or two there. But he approaches it, and then we get this beautiful statement of where Yahweh speaks out to him saying, take off your sandals, for you're on holy ground.
Yeah.
And the key thing is not because that land is holy. It's not that it's the land that's holy. It's the fact that God's present is what makes it holy.
Right.
We have not, because before the mountain of God was Eden. And then we have the mountain where Abraham meets him. We have Ararat with Noah. But the true mountain of God was back in Eden. And now we have another mountain of God, which is Horeb.
Mm-hmm.
And here he's told, take off your sandals, you're in holy ground. And then they start to communicate. They have this discussion. And this is where God begins to bring about the idea of like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to be my representative. You're going to go in there. You're going to basically tell Pharaoh, knock it off. I'm taking him out. And he's going to tell you no. So you're going to perform these fun little miracles for him that he really curses. Mm-hmm. And it's a whole really cool theological, like spiritual warfare that is happening there. This theological battle between Yahweh and the gods of Egypt and all these things, which is not even a competition.
No. Well, and I love, one of the miracles that he performs is the snake.
Yeah.
The statuing of the snake. I love that God just dunks on them further by Moses' snake eating it.
Yeah.
Eating the other snakes. Just absolute dunking on them.
What was fun too is that we mentioned this in our Chaos Monster series. They play with the two words Nachash and Tanim, depending on the context. And it was like for the Jewish audience, he was told to go do this, and therefore they get this vision of what it looks like and this theological significance. But then the other one gets this theological significance, and it's like, wait, hold on, they can do the same thing. But it's like Moses, the by God's power and guidance, was like, yeah, grab him by the tail, which is not the safest thing in the world, as any snake person will tell you. Like, don't grab him by the tail. But he's like, do it. So he's showing his power over the snake and how he's working through Moses to have this power of the snake. It's like, yeah, our snake is going to be better. And then he goes in and then he dunks on him where he eats him. And then, Moses probably was like, let me just grab him really quick again. Or Aaron in this case was like, let me just grab him again. Let me just take up the snake. And he's back to his staff. It was like, phrase it this way. In Exodus 7, where you have, I think it's Exodus 7, where you have Moses is trying to back out of this whole calling.
Right.
This whole idea of like, he's supposed to go in and be the vessel that God works through. He's basically supposed to be like the representative interceding to Pharaoh in a sense to get out. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do this. So he's supposed to be functioning as God's prophet, but he won't do it. So then Yahweh's like, fine, we'll use your brother. So here's how it's going to work. You're my messenger to him, and he'll be your messenger to Pharaoh, which means you'll be basically Elohim to him. He's not calling him Elohim, like hey, you are an Elohim. So you're basically function as an Elohim to him.
Right.
So you're my prophet, and he's your prophet because you won't do it.
Right.
But I'm not done anyways. You're still going to go and do it. Basically, it's like you'll get your way out. No, you're still going in. And I'm going to send you in to be this
Aaron is
representative.
his security blanket.
Yeah. Aaron is he's just emotional support pet.
Exactly. Oh, come on. Don't call him a pet. At least don't call him a pet.
He's his emotional support brother.
There you go. Yeah.
Emotional support prophet.
I like that. That's better. Yeah. Emotional support prophet.
Emotional support prophet. It's just the one, pet came up because that's the thing we use now.
I know.
But the whole mission, even from the beginning, at this mountain is you're going to go in, you're to represent them, which is important that his goal is that when he's representative of God and speaking to them, he's also taking the role of representing Israel. So he's representing the God of Israel. And because it's the God of Israel, he's representing Israel to Egypt, which is important because now with that position in mind, because he's the messenger of Yahweh to the people, he's also playing as the representative of the people to Yahweh. So he takes on that middleman role, which, if we're just thinking about Jesus for a second, that's him taking on the greater thing. What it talks about in, I think it's Timothy, the idea of like, this is the mediator between God and man. Because now you have that mediator who is both God and man, and not just man speaking on behalf of God. This is God in flesh.
Yeah.
But also, therefore, incarnate. So if he can speak on behalf of the flesh and behalf on God to the Father. And that role is going to be super important for the entirety of the Mount Sinai narrative, because almost the entire time it's Moses bringing messages from Yahweh to them. And then when they screw up, as we'll see, it's him having to come back up, expressing his frustration from saying, Yahweh, please don't attack them. Consider showing them mercy.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful picture of what, typologically, of what Christ would eventually do.
Right.
And it's, the fun thing here is that Yahweh says at the very end, well, not the very end, but like towards the end of this discussion, before he starts to go through the whole different kind of miracles and all these things, between like the back and forth between him and Moses, is that you're going to bring them back here. where we met, which is really cool because Sinai is word itself refers to the place of burning thorns. So it's pointing to the idea of like that burning bush. This is the place that we met, that place of, like if I were to pull up an official like dictionary for names, this one, I have a couple of them in here. So this is the exhaustive dictionary of Bible names. And so its technical definition would be, my thorns, bush of the Lord, pointed my bushes, is what Sinai refers to. The idea of bush of the Lord and my thorns. So it's like a little bit of that thorn of like, this is not what I want to do.
Right. Yeah.
That God's going to send you out even to do things you don't want to do, but it's still the bush of the Lord.
Right. Reminiscent somewhat there of 2 Corinthians 12.
Right.
Right. The thorn in Paul's flesh.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean? We're not told, but I imagine there are several occasions where Paul went, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah. But it's just cool.
You want me to go get flogged? I'm good now. Thanks.
But it's cool because before we're referring to it as Horeb, and now God says, you're going to bring them back here. This is where we're going to meet again. Like, be with my people, and you're going to be the representative. We're going to be this back and forth. You're going to bring my message to them, and you're going to speak on behalf of them, all these things. So be back here at the place of the Lord's bush. And I think that's just like, honestly, before I never really kind of picked up that Horeb and Sinai are the same, but when you think about the fact that Sinai means the Lord's bush, well, that makes a lot more sense now. That's like, okay, we're going back to the place where the bush was.
Right.
God said we're going to meet back. We met here. We're going to come back here.
Yeah.
And it's here that you can go through the whole Exodus narrative itself, but just look at the mountains itself. So, because he'll descend the mountain and then he'll go bring them back. And now we get to a large portion of the Torah where these things are being explained on what's going to happen. And Exodus, we're going to look at Exodus specifically just for today, where we're going to see some of the things that he outlines. And some of the things are really playing into the previous stuff we've already mentioned, and sometimes also kind of setting up some new things that we've referenced but haven't quite discussed yet. But it's here back at that, the Mount of Thorns, or the Mount of the Lord, or the Lord's bush, is where he is commissioned to go and to bring them back before they are to go forth into the land of Canaan, which is going to be really fun.
So you had mentioned exile earlier.
Right.
And as you were doing that, I couldn't help but think, because you talked about Moses' sort of self-exile, right? Where he sort of goes off by himself and then he meets God. For some reason, my brain connected that to Moses going up into the cloud. He meets God, right? So there's it's not quite the exile, right? But it is this idea of, and it kind of plays into what we were talking about, of Moses going up the mountain alone to meet with God and then coming back and delivering, right? So it's kind of how you were talking about that, but I think it's a good not indication. It's a good example, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's a good example, I guess, for lack of a better word, of God taking what is not inherently good. Right, Moses' self-exile in the wilderness, his continued, basically self-imposed suffering, God taking that and saying, okay, this thing that you're doing, I'm going to do it to you, but I'm going to use it for a good purpose. I'm going to bring it to glory. I'm going to bring it to something better than what you have been doing with it. Right? Because Moses, for whatever reason, I mean, obviously for the reason of not being killed, but for the reason of, persecution or whatever. Persecution is not the right word, but for trying to get away from everything, goes and basically punishes himself. Right? He goes out and suffers in the wilderness for 40 years. Yeah, he finds a wife. That's great. And his wife is certainly faithful to him. And in fact, the incident where she circumcises his son,
right,
because he won't do it. I mean, that's a huge act of faith on her part.
Especially as a Midianite.
I was going to say, yeah, so props to Zipporah. But, yeah, great. He goes out and does that, but he's not living a good life, especially not compared to what he was, right? He was royalty back in Egypt. He is not living a good life. So for God to then look at that and say, this time where you're going off alone, and then you come up to the mountain where you meet me, I'm going to do the same thing. You will be in the wilderness. You will be leading a flock, in a sense, right? Because he's shepherding.
Right, yeah.
And I'm going to call you, once again, away by yourself to come and to meet me. I just think that's cool how, you mentioned exile there, and my brain started like, it's kind of what he does on Sinai as well.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Well, I mean, to that point, because we just kind of talked about Sinai itself refers to the Lord's bush.
Yeah.
So it's going to be there that he calls Moses, where Moses kind of goes through his own little exodus. And he goes back. And now he's doing another exodus. And he's supposed to bring the people to where he met God.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, everything you just went through, we're going to do it again. A little bit.
Yeah.
And we're going to, but this time you're going to be leading a different flock. You're going to be leading my flock, my people, and you're going to lead them forward. Now, when I say you lead, I really mean I lead, but I'm working through you because my desire has not changed to work along with humans,
right?
To be in relationship with you, to delegate things to you, to love you and have relations with you. And to do that, and the thing for him is like, I don't just want to do it with one person. I want to do it with the community because you are all my children. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be you that's going to work through them. But it's going to be them as a whole that I plan to work through for the entirety of the world. These are the people that he chooses. It's interesting because we've mentioned this before where you have Genesis 3, you have the rebellion of the serpent and you have Adam and Eve. You then have another rebellion in Genesis 6. And then with Deuteronomy 32 in mind, you have another rebellion in Genesis 11. Within the human, but that was Deuteronomy 32 pointing to a spiritual rebellion of some sort. There's like all these rebellions are taking place. And he has that point where he's like, all right, I'm going to pull a Romans 1, maybe before Romans 1 existed. We're like, all right, I'm giving you up to everything that you are wanting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it a little bit more difficult for you. I'm going to give it up. I'm going to let you have that.
Yep.
But I choose Abraham. It'll be him that I work through, his seed, to get you all back here. Now, some of you won't come back because you're going to be too consumed by this. I'm going to work through them to bring back those who will hear.
Right.
And it's that. Now I want to say it's kind of a replaying of that, not a let me redo it, but it's a continuation of
right.
What you've gone through, what Abraham's, like all of you and your patriarchs have gone through. We're going to do it again, and I'm working through you to bring them back because my desire is for them to be in Canaan. In Canaan, remember when they get to Sinai, it's after they had the whole crossing the Sea of Reeds back in Exodus 14 and 15. So we're going through the wilderness some more. We're getting there. They're effectively going through new creation, entering into potentially what's supposed to be the new Eden. Not the same as Eden, but the new Eden.
Yeah.
But that's supposed to be the place they're supposed to go. And Sinai is going to be that mountain, that preparation spot. What's interesting is like this is a spot where they're going to be tested and prepared to enter. Which we just a whole live stream on this. Like this is what Jesus goes through. But instead of failing the test and having to wait the 40 years, he gets through the 40 days. And then he goes on. And he comes out of the wilderness and he goes back into the mountains and he goes to work and serve the Lord and to convene all these things to these people. To be that mediator between God and man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, to your point with the exile, that there's that self-punishment, but also that, hey, we're going to do this again. It's going to be a struggle, but also there's going to be some beauty out of it. All of those things. It's just really kind of cool how that plays together. So let's go to Exodus 19. We don't need to go through all the other things. We went through them and several other projects, and we probably could do a whole other episode on this, but we want to keep it focused on the mountain.
Definitely, yeah.
So they've already gone past the Sea of Reeds. They're in the wilderness. They're going through. Then it says, in the 3rd month after the Israelites went out from the land of Egypt, on this day they came to the Sinai desert. So now they're in the desert. They're in the wilderness. They're in that dry land, that non-created spot. They're in the place that is going to be sometimes associated with death and sometimes associated with disorder, but also sometimes associated with testing. Sometimes it's not even just about chaos itself, but the fact that things can happen out there. And sometimes good things can happen, sometimes negative things could happen. But it's here that we are going to be at Sinai, the Lord's bush. That's just, I just find that fun to think about it more and more now.
That God has a bush. He's got a shrub.
It's just the fact that that word would be associated with the idea of it's his bush, or is that thorn? Whereas I think it's also kind of fun. It's like it could be a reference to a thorn. But okay, so they're here. They're in front of the mountains, or the mountain itself specifically, and that's verse 2. And then it says, verse 3, Moses went up to God, and Yahweh called to him from the mountain, saying, thus you will say to the house of Jacob, and you will tell the Israelites, you yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and how I brought you to me. And now, if you will carefully listen to my voice and keep my covenant, you'll be a treasured possession for me out of all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. Just a quick side note, just love the dunk. It's still all mine.
Yep.
I might have given up to some things, but it's still mine. Even the ones that they're trying to live under. No. I still have full authority over them.
Yeah, that's something actually I communicated earlier. So I was watching a YouTube video, and the guy said, he took the Lord's name in vain, right? Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my usual response to that is, hey, what a coincidence. He's mine too. And so then little internal debate. I was like, well, I mean, he's technically not their God, right? They don't worship him as God. And I said, well, hang on. He's still God, whether you worship him as God or not. Like, your belief has no effect on his title.
Yeah.
Right? And so I said there is a lower sense in which he's not your God.
He's not their God in the sense of they do not align themselves with him.
Right. And I said out loud, I was like, crude analogy, but it's kind of like the King of Britain. Right? He's not my king per se.
But he's still the King of Britain.
He's still king.
Yeah.
Right? He still is king presiding over a kingdom. Right? And somebody would say, well, you're not in his jurisdiction. Right. But God's a little bit bigger than just an earthly king.
Yeah.
He's kind of, God. His jurisdiction is all of creation, and you most certainly fall within that.
Yeah.
So he is still your God, whether you want him to be or not.
Yeah. And I think there's interesting with mountains, and I think we kind of touched on this. Scholars call it cosmic geography.
Mm-hmm.
It plays deeper into like the boundaries of nations and their religions, and a little bit of like how warfare kind of works out and their view on how warfare works out.
Yeah.
On one hand, all the land, like entirety of it, is Yahweh's. But then in another sense, he's claimed specific land as his, that he shows his presence.
Right.
So right now he's claiming Sinai as a place he's going to show his presence. So this is his land.
Mm-hmm.
The other gods, Elohim, can't bust in and be like, we're going to conquer this. And then the idea of like when you conquer land, it was like it wasn't so much that the gods lost sometimes, but sometimes the gods removed themselves from the protection of those people. So that's why like Babylon could conquer Israel, because Yahweh's drifted back from them in some sense.
Yeah. Or the classic atheist, God's not stronger than the iron chariots. Well, no, God just stepped back. Right? The faith of the Israelites was not strong enough to keep going forward.
Yeah.
So God went, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. And so that's how sometimes their view on like the gods and warfare worked. Sometimes it was also like whose God is strong, but sometimes it was like, we're not protecting you. And it kind of played into that. So it's like when you have like the narrative of the 300 versus like the thousands.
Yeah.
It's like, let me just prove to you, I'm here and I'm really the one that brings you victory, not yourself.
Right.
But the idea of cosmic geography and how that works. So one hand is kind of almost like multi-layered. On one hand, like him saying, all of this is mine, everything's mine. It's also him saying, this is my land.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're going to work at right now. We're not going to Canaan yet. You will. This is where we're going to start. This is the Holy Land right now, in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the wilderness. This is going to be my spot where you are encamped right now. And at the top is where Sinai, which remember mountains are associated with sometimes with the presence of gods and like sacred places. So with that said, he then continues on to say, but you will belong to me as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The kingdom of priests. So they're all called to be that level of priests. Israel's original function is to be the priest to the world,
right?
To all the nations. And then within that, you have the Levitical priest to Israel.
Yeah, to be the intercessor of the world.
They're the intercessor of the world. The Levites are the intercessor for the Israelites. And Moses is supposed to be the intercessor for all of them right now.
Yeah.
All of them are who he's supposed to intercede to. And so Moses comes and calls the elders of the people. He places before them all the words that Yahweh commanded him. And he's communicating all these things to them. We eventually get to the point where he then says, okay, now you come up again. It's a fun part where Yahweh says, bring up the elders that you just appointed. Bring up Aaron. Anyone else? No, don't bring them up. Or else Yahweh is going to get upset with you. But this is also Yahweh speaking. Right. Yahweh's saying Yahweh's going to be mad at you if you bring up any other people, because that's not their role right now. Is this weird spot where there is a bit of, I can't remember the exact passage. I'm just remembering it now. I wish I looked into it before, or remembered it before. There's a passage where there's a little bit of a different kind of thoughts where Israel is in some case later in the Torah is being addressed about approaching the mountain and touching it. And there's some scholars, I have to reread an entirety of their different thoughts on it, but there's some are like saying, well, they passed the test and they don't ascend the mountain because that's not their role. And there's some saying, well, no, they failed the test because they were being invited and to come up the mountain. And it was in this specific instance. And it's the fact that they failed because they would rather stay down below. But even the point being that even within this whole Moses interceding for them, the question of will Israel ascend the mountain? Will they not ascend the mountain? Can they ascend the mountain? Can they not ascend the mountain? The very fact that they have to rely on a mediator to ascend it for them, that they vicariously are going through. Moses is, geographically speaking, acting as a going up offering on behalf of them. And it's up there that he will have to do other offerings on behalf of them, as well as the others. And he's functioning as that going up and down. Whereas like, there's moments where Yahweh's saying, you are not to come up, you're to work vicariously through this. And there's times where he does call up. The question is, will we ascend when he calls us to, or will we stay down when he doesn't call us to? But the point being is that, okay, Exodus 19 is preceding the Decalogue or the 10 Commandments or the 10 words, whichever one you want to call it, based on the technicality of the words. But it's up here that Yahweh is calling up these people, the elders, Aaron, Moses, to then start beginning the distinction of how they are to live in contrast to every other nation. Because the role is to function as nation priests, worldwide priests. That is their function, which is why Peter plays into that so heavily in his epistles. And Hebrews as well, the idea of like this, the kingdom of priests, and that Jesus is the high priest, and the temple language. The idea of like, okay, you as Christians are now supposed to continue the very thing that Israelites were supposed to be doing. But now you're not just geographically located. You're not going to be expanded all over. And it's that role that Moses is establishing as a prophetic high priest for the high priests, where he's called up, and now God's going to start revealing things. So we're getting that, okay, they've gone to the place, they're in God's holy land, if you will, before it's the official holy land. So they're in his like pre-holy land. Where now they're going to start getting the revealings, the revelations of who they are to be as a people. And this is going to be where you start getting the establishment more of the need of that intercessor, because God knows they will not live up to it. So he provides structure in which to remind them of who they're supposed to be. Like these sacrifices aren't arbitrary. These laws aren't arbitrary. They're supposed to make them be distinct, holy, sanctified. And the sacrifices are supposed to cleanse them of all the uncleanness or the association with like things like death or the other gods, or even just idolizing themselves. or having a lower view of God or thinking they can domesticate God. One of the reasons why God says don't make idols and engraven images is because like, you're not going to domesticate me. You can't just make something and calm me down.
Right.
We're not playing that game. Like there is the whole like, don't make something that looks like him because there's nothing that really looks like him. There's also the whole, we are the idols already. So why are we passing off our duties to something else? And there's the idea of like, you're not going to domesticate me.
Right.
I come down when I come down. And I come down interestingly, so often we need someone to go up for us, but he frequently comes down anyways, even when we are not. Like he comes down to the tabernacle, down to the temple.
Right.
No reason to, like no need to, but just comes down fully out of love. But in Exodus 19 is the establishment of these positions, establishing these positions, like some of these positions, so that way he can start revealing the distinction between them and the people, how they're supposed to be as this nation of priests, as this kingdom of priests to all the nations of the world, which, man, there's just so much to kind of talk about there. It's so tempting to, but in the effort of just kind of trying to stay within the mountain narrative, you have Moses being called to the mountain, saying, you're going to go down, you're going to bring them back. Now he's brought them back. And he says, come back up. Need you to establish some things for me. Okay, established. Good. Told him. Let's get down to business. Here's what I need you to start revealing to them because this is how they're going to be different. And here's how you are going to know when to intercede for them and how to intercede for them. Because Moses kind of has this idea in mind already, but now to make it so abundantly clear to a nation who has been entrapped in Egyptian theology, then now they have that mixture of Hebrew thought still, but that Egyptian influence. You cannot be like this anymore. We got to be something different. Summarize really quickly. Exodus 20, for instance, is the Decalogue, 10 Commandments. Exodus 21 is through 23. Then it starts establishing a bunch of different laws, specifically how to treat people. So like in 21, you get things regarding like slaves, things to do with like murder and attacking the people, how you treat your common man, how you treat those who maybe aren't of Israel, but are either, indentured servants of some kind of sort or enslaved to you, whatever. Not chattel slavery, as many people would like try to argue, but like,
yeah, exactly.
But like this, they are a servant of some kind of sort, or they want to be a people. This is nothing I mentioned in a stream where I never caught this, is how beautiful it is, where when he's establishing the Passover, and you get to this whole thing, here's what you're going to do, and they're about to do it, and he says, here's some rules you're going to do going forward. One of the things he says, foreigners can't participate. And the first part is him talking about like, you must be like a covenant people. Then he mentions that foreigners can participate if all the males are circumcised. And
if they embrace that covenant.
Right. And that circumcision is a mark of dedication to that God, of which Paul kind of likens baptism to as this I don't want to say declaration.
Circumcision of the heart.
Yeah.
More so. The
idea of pledging oneself to him. In fact, there's a Greek word that I think that Peter uses that can be used in reference to pledging when it ties to baptism. You're giving yourself over and what this resembles.
Right.
And so you see that establishment even early on, that they cannot partake of this, which is the same thing for Christians. You cannot partake of the Lord's Supper unless you are Christian. In this case, you cannot partake of Passover unless you are of this covenant.
Yeah.
But the foreigners can enter into it if they dedicate themselves to Yahweh. But anyways, the point being is that you have these different establishments of how they're to treat each other, whether it be specifically Jews or now people of the other nations who are now covenant people, who may have some regulations that they can't fully participate in, maybe like how far they can go into the temple or approach the temple, but that's still that they could partake in that covenant. And like we know that he establishes that because you have Egyptians who are already traveling with them. Like it kind of it alludes to, and sometimes it describes that there's some Egyptian people who are walking with them. And you also have the Midianites who are like from like Moses' wife who are with them. Like you already have foreigners who are not Israelites traveling with them and being there for this covenant, for this establishment of what it is. So you get those established, like here's how you're to treat people. Don't go out and murder people, don't manslaughter them, don't abuse slaves if you have them. Here's what to do if you have a slave that's of Israel or of the covenant. You should set them free. Here's how you should treat those who are foreigners and how you're not to abuse them like the other nations do. You get these differences for different kinds of offenses and the poor. You get different things like justice and holiness. All this is dealing with like, here's how you are supposed to treat people,
right?
Which is important in context of like, they just came from a place where they were treated awfully as slaves.
Right.
He's saying you can't do any of that. It cannot happen.
Right.
You are to be that kingdom of priests to all people. And this is still Yahweh communicating this to Moses. So he's giving this huge long list of here's what you got to do. And you get this beautiful parts in the different narratives throughout where Moses presents his stuff.
Right.
And then they will say as a people, we agreed to do this. We as a people, we will do this. This is how we're going to be. We agree to this covenant. And then, Moses comes down with the covenant, he goes back up, and it's back and forth. Like, here's what you're going to do. We will do it. All right, Yahweh, what's next? All right, here's what you're going to do. We will do it. And there's this back and forth, like that intercessor who's going back and forth. Not yet intercessing the way we're thinking about, like that's this mediator who is having to communicate on both parties. Not that God really needs it, but he's choosing to work through him.
Right.
It's his desire of how he's going to work through people.
Right. And it's that archetype of Christ.
Right.
Right. That Christ is going to be that final intercession, right? That final mediator between God and man. And certainly you get that, right, in Sermon on the Mount. Right. You get that again at Gethsemane. Right. You get that ultimately at Golgotha.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Whereas is that continual, he's going up, he's coming back, he's going up, he's coming back, he's going up, he's coming back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, right. This is obviously, as I just said, laying out the groundwork for this is what Christ is going to do.
Right.
But notice again the difference there. Moses must go up to receive it and then come back down to give it.
Right.
Christ just gives it.
Right. Yeah.
He goes up, certainly, right? The Sermon on the Mount, it's called that for a reason. But he just gives the commands.
Right.
And he teaches as one with authority. I love to go back to that passage. He teaches as one with authority, not like their scribes and Pharisees.
Right. He's already different.
Right. It was a divine authority.
Right.
There's the Roomba.
I think it's the water.
Oh, is it still the water?
I think it's the water, yeah.
Like to me, it kind of sounded like it was going by in the hallway. So I was like, oh, there's Roomba.
But yeah, to that point, you get with all of that. I mean, this is the part that's like still crazy. You get to like Exodus 24, where the first verse, and to Moses he said, go up to Yahweh, which is it's like, you're still getting that third person distinction. These two persons, these two Yahweh speaking, hey, go up to him. But anyways, go up to Yahweh, you and Aaron, Nadav, Avihu, and the 70 from the elders of Israel, and you will worship at a distance. And Moses alone will come near to Yahweh. So these are the elders. And we remember that we already have, maybe not quite yet, but Aaron, the high priest.
Right.
So he's supposed to be like the one that can enter into like the Holy of Holies in the tabernacle, in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
But he even can't go as close as Moses can.
Right.
Of which, just to tie back to Christ again, that typological, that greater. Now Jesus is that high priest who is so close to the Father that is saying, now that I'm so much closer, and the priest, you get pretty close, and I'm also divine, you're even closer.
I'm one with the Father.
It's like as Ephesians talks about, you, referring to the Gentiles, you who are far have been brought near. And those Gentiles couldn't have entered certain levels of the tabernacle, but now you've been brought near. You are now in that presence of God.
Mm-hmm. And that I think is really reinforced with the transfiguration.
Yeah.
Right. Or even again, to bring up Gethsemane again, right? That at the transfiguration, Christ says to Peter, James, and John, you stay here. Or they actually, I don't think he even says it, but they stay back.
Yeah. And
Jesus ascends to the top of the mountain and then is transfigured and speaks with Moses and Elijah. Excuse me. And then again at Gethsemane, that's when he actually says, stay here while I go.
Yeah.
Right. So you get that repeating theme, right? sorry, not repeating, rhyming. Right? You get that rhyming theme of you stay, the intercessor goes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yes, you act as intercessors to some degree, right? Because we don't have the Gospels without the disciples there.
Right.
But even then, it's the intercessor is the one who has to go.
Yeah.
Right. He is the one that has to go up to God and communicate and receive / in Christ's case, teach.
Mm.
Right. We cannot approach God unless God provides the intercession,
mm-hmm.
which is, of course, also how salvation works. Right? God provided the intercession so that way we could approach him. Right? So now we can get that Hebrews 4 where we can boldly approach the throne of grace.
Yeah.
And I just think that's beautiful how God has set it up to where he's still saying, yes, this event that's happening right now is important. Wait until you see what I've got coming.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of just went through. It might be for the listener. It sounds like we're rehashing some things, but like it's just a huge, big narrative. What's happening here?
Right.
So the point being is that through those big chapters in between, you get things like the Decalogue, you get things like the covenant, and you get in chapter 24 where's the agreement to covenant, and then you get Moses writing out these things, like he's starting to carve it out and to pen these things out, what they're supposed to do. Is with all of this, where he's doing all this communication with Yahweh, he's so close to him, he's in his presence, like he's on the mountain, and he's like at the center of the mountain. Because remember, like the others, they couldn't get as close. They can worship him. They're closer than the Israelites. The Israelites are down at the bottom. These elders and Aaron, they're close, and then Moses is even closer.
Right.
It's like Garden of Eden, rest of the world, or holy place, holiest of holies, holy place, courtyard, or if we want to change to Eden differently, the trees, like the tree of knowledge and the tree of life, Garden of Eden, and then outside of that is the rest of the world, the not yet brought into order in the fullest sense yet, would be another way to look at it. So all this has been happening, and then you get to Exodus 32, because we're talking about the intercessions, like how we get into the intercession part, like what Moses frequently has to do for Israel. Like we kind of start off with that. We've seen a lot more like this mediator, like he's a communicator, not so much like as much clear intercessing, like what you think about like what Jesus does for us. Exodus 32 is where we get a very clear one when that happens, where we get that the people saw that Moses is delayed. So now they're getting impatient. They did. He hasn't come down in a while. This is not good. They don't think it is. And so the people gather opposite Aaron, and they said to him, "Come, make for us gods who will go before us, because this Moses," what is this Moses?
Yeah.
"The man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we do not know what's become of him." So it's a weird mixture of like, they don't totally doubt him, but they're also like, where is he? What happened here? If you're supposed to lead us, what's going on?
Right. And you got to remember, by this day and age, Moses is not a young man.
Oh, and it's a mountain.
And it's a mountain. So, as much as we like to crap on the Israelites, and deservedly so, we also got to remember, this is an elderly man going up a mountain. There is no guarantee that he is going to come back.
Yeah, literally. And so we then get Aaron, who is like, okay, fine. Take off the rings, take off these goals. We're gonna put him in here, and we're gonna make this calf.
Which, can I just say, that is such a human thing.
Yeah.
Like, because remember, where did they get all these rings and gold and stuff? From Egypt, which was a blessing from God. So they're going to take this blessing from God and use it for idol worship.
Yeah. And
it's such a human thing to do.
What was interesting too is that Aaron's response depending on what translation you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Some will say this is your God. Some will say these are your gods. But it's still the one statue. But then he goes on and says, Aaron saw and he built an altar before it. Aaron called and he said, a feast for Yahweh tomorrow. And it's just like, he's attributing to Yahweh, and yet he's not. Like this is the one that brought you out, but also depending again, because there's a little bit of back and forth on like, should it be plural, should it be plural? Because Elohim, it's like sheep. See, like everything else. And sometimes it's like, well, they said gods. So he probably refers to the same thing, but he also made one. So maybe this is just the one for him. Either way. Either way.
It's a good Freudian slip, when you say one thing but mean your mother.
Either way.
I love that joke.
You have, if this is supposed to be of Yahweh, one, that's an offense. Not any is like, people are like, oh yeah, they're saying that God's like a cow. That's not really the offense. The offense is like, God's up there. He's not coming down here. Let's make this island, he'll come down here. Either way, or you can go the direction of, oh, let's attribute this to other gods. Mm-hmm. One is like, all right, let's attribute God's work to someone else. Or it's, let's domesticate him and calm down here. Either way, that's not going to work. And it makes sense why God is ticked at this. He's like, hold on. So you're either going to attribute this to other gods, or you're going to think that you can calm me down. Mm-hmm. I called him up. I called you here.
Right.
I brought you out of there. What makes you think that you can calm me down?
Kind of that Job, who are you?
Kind of, yeah. But less in the, let me teach you and also reassure you. Because
right. Yeah. No, it was more so of who are you to think yourself anything to me?
Yeah.
Right. Like, you are my creation and you cannot begin to understand the depths of my power.
Yeah.
So who are you?
Job is weird because you have that, and they also have like, would you like to try this?
Exactly.
Would you like to try this? And again, it's like that stern, that's a stern father who is also, is not him being down.
Right.
Because he's still like, let me point out to you how little you know, not to make you feel worse, but to help you understand that there's so much that you don't actually understand what's going on behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Trust me. And then here's like, didn't I just tell you not to do this? Didn't we literally just have this conversation? And you're going to do this anyway.
Exactly. So it's the meme that I really appreciate, which is there are two kinds of Pauline epistles. Type 1, we are heirs of unfathomable grace. Type 2, I am, as a personal favor, asking you sick little freaks to act normal for 5 minutes. It's the two types of Pauline epistles, right? Job is the first and this is the second. And it's so deservedly the second, right? Because idol worship is not just, we think of idol worship as, they're just bowing down to the statues.
They were not that dumb.
No, there's a lot of really sick, depraved, degenerate stuff that goes into idol worship. And so it's kind of how you were saying, right? Like it could be twofold, right? One, it's either, it might not even be either. It might be both and.
Could, yeah.
Right? Where they are attributing this to other gods, in which case they are doing really gross, sick, degenerate stuff. And or they're attributing it to God, in which case, again, we get the God lecture.
Well, I even think about that, like, the and or, like, think about this. If he's been saying that I'm saying my angel up before you and all those things, them like even be like, oh yeah. It's like, I am there and there, but I'm still one.
Yeah.
I'm not two. Mm-hmm. I'm not two different beings. I'm still the one being. And
Shema intensifies.
Yeah. But either way, something grotesque is happening. The idea, like, either they're like going to other gods, which is what they would have been doing in Egypt, or they're thinking they can domesticate Yahweh, or like I said, both and playing with something. They're doing something that they do not truly, they understand what they're doing, but they don't understand who they're doing this to, because this God will not take it.
Right.
This ain't going to happen. And so, he builds this altar. He's like, we'll have this feast for Yahweh tomorrow. And they start off early the next day and they offer burnt offerings, which is wild. They offer going up offerings. After this event, which he just said never do, now they provide this feast and this offerings and they're going up, whether it be attributing to other gods or to him, which is a feast for Yahweh. So it's to him. And he's gonna be like, I literally told you can't do this.
Yeah.
Reason one, you are my idols. Two, you're not going to make one of me because there's nothing that you can really compare me to. I already made you and you're all different already. That kind of points to the creative beauty of what I've done. Three, you ain't domesticating me. I come down when I want to come down.
Right. I
come down because I love you. Don't think you can beck and call me just like that. I'm not this dog you've trained. Like this, it's a kind of weird thing too about idol worship in other cases. It's like they want to be near the gods, but there's like this weird level of domestication, but also like it's holy and sacred. Like don't break it because it's connected to our God. It's an attack on him. But also like if we make it, it'll bring them to us.
Right.
It's that weird little bit of like selfish pull on both sides. Like, hey, you'll keep worshiping me if I come to you. Cool. I was like, they'll keep blessing me if I bring them down here. And it's like there's like this weird, it's symbiotic, but yet not grotesque relationship.
And it kind of feeds, at least for me, into the theory that the old gods were just demons. Because there is kind of like the both sides there, right? Where it's, they'll pay more attention to me if I come down there, right? If I come into the idol, right? And in exchange, I will bless them, quote unquote, if they continue to follow me, right? So you get that weird sort of perversion of who God is, right? And that to me is flat out demonic.
Yeah.
Right. Because remember, if you watched our presentation on the demons, you know that the demon's sole goal in any circumstance is to draw you away from God by whatever means necessary.
Yeah.
If that is worshiping them, and the way they get you to do that is by coming down into the idol and continuing to bless you so that you pay attention to them and not God, absolutely. Right? That's easy for them. All they have to do is just sit there and keep giving you what you want.
Think about this too. Even if it was attributed to Yahweh and they're trying to domesticate, the other spiritual beings know that he won't go down in there.
Right.
Which is like, now you've just opened also the door
right
for something else to come.
Exactly.
I just set you free from this.
Yeah. And it goes back to what I talked about. I don't know if it necessarily made it into the video or not, but the movie Host, where I think it's Medium, where the medium correctly says, once you create a mask for something, anything can step in to fill that.
Yeah.
Right. So they have created a mask here. Whatever comes in there, it's not God.
Yeah. Because he's not going to go into it.
Exactly.
The only time you get God going to his idols is the Holy Spirit filling his people and the breathing in, which is still, which means our breath is from God and is borrowed.
Yes.
It's his breath that is in us.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's already filled statues. And then there's actually his presence in statues, which is the Holy Spirit, as is talked about as like being the helper within the people, that he's down here guiding us and all those things. But anyways, all this being like this idol theology just could go on because it's just really fascinating to talk about. Yahweh's obviously ticked. And he's like, okay.
Justifiably so.
Yeah. He's like, I've seen this people. Indeed, they are stiff-necked people. And now leave me alone so my anger may ablaze. It's like, oh, shoot. God saying, leave me alone. Anger can ablaze. That's not going to be good. Against them and let me destroy them. So people he just say he's going to pull out. He's like, I'm going to destroy them because they're deserving of this.
Yep.
And so Moses.
AFO.
and then I love how the Lexham English Bible puts it. Moses implored Yahweh. I just kind of like that phrase of the imploring, this begging. It's like his God, Yahweh his God, and said, why, Yahweh, should your anger blaze against your people, whom you brought up from the land of Egypt with great power and with a strong hand? Why should the Egyptians say with evil intent he brought them out to kill them in the mountains? He's kind of like saying, like, why bring them out here to destroy them? don't you know what they'll do to your reputation? Obviously Yahweh knows. And he's like,
right.
Don't you know? He's like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like, but also you called them out here to be your people. So please give him another chance. Like he's begging him this whole time, remember Abraham, Isaac, Israel. Remember all these people you made covenants with, your servants to whom you swore by yourself that you told. Oh, that swore by yourself, not by others, by yourself. And you told them, I will multiply your offspring like the stars in the heaven and all this land that I promised I'll give to your offspring. He's like, remember this covenant. Remember all these things that go way back and the covenants you told me about. And then it says Yahweh relents. He's like,
and I love, so again, we're getting this building.
Yeah.
Right? We're continually building. So when I look at that, I see not quite a failure on Noah's part.
Sure.
But I see something that Noah didn't do. Right? When the flood is coming. Now we don't necessarily know if Noah
it's a quick breeze through what happened.
Right. Warned anybody or anything like that. But Noah, in this case, we're going to argue from silence because it's convenient for me, so I don't care.
Fallacious.
Yeah, exactly. Very. But right, Noah doesn't beg God to spare the people, to spare the wicked humanity around him. Abraham doesn't, at least again, we don't see it, doesn't beg God to spare Isaac. Moses does. In that sense, there is a test. There is very much a test of the person
who's doing the imploring.
Right. God already knew that he was not going to destroy Israel that day.
He still was angry.
He was still angry. Again, justifiably so.
Yeah.
But he knew, I'm not going to wipe them out. I'm not going to go back on the covenant that I made with Abraham. Moses, this is a test for you. Are you going to step up and intercede here?
Yeah.
Are you going to be the intercessor that I called you to be? I know you will be. You need to know that you will be.
Yeah.
Because so far, you have taken every route out of being the intercessor.
It's kind of like Abraham.
Right.
You've taken every route to avoid the promises I already made you. Give me your son.
Right, exactly. Right. And Moses, I don't want to go before Pharaoh. Oh God, I don't think I'm qualified to lead these people. And God's saying, the time is now. Are you going to be their intercessor or are you not? I know you will be. You need to know that you will be.
Right.
And finally, Moses steps up and does his freaking job.
Like you said, it's that testing of him. And it's also like God allows that discourse.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is a relational being. So he's not like just arbitrarily force.
Right.
He's like, we're gonna hash this out together. We're gonna do this right now. And then so he begs and he relents. The fun part too is then Moses then goes down, and he's like, it's like, please don't do it. Remember this. Goes on. Oh, this is why you're
right. Exactly. Which it's funny. Moses, right, has no idea what is happening down there.
And then all
he knows is that God suddenly says, I'm going to go destroy Israel because I'm so irate with them. And Moses is like, please reconsider.
It's like, don't do this. Don't you remember all these things? Like, it's all logical, very reasonable. Like, it's not just like, it's very much well thought out. Like, he knew all these things. And then he goes down and then Aaron goes, yeah, he sees the wild running. And Aaron's like, yeah, this thing just jumped out of here. What? He's like, excuse me? So we then, let's see, we'll close with this. He goes down and he says, so Moses saw the people and they were running wild because Aaron had allowed them to run wild. So Aaron as a high priest has failed hard.
Miserably.
And so for a laughing stock among their enemies, and Moses stood at the entrance to the camp, whoever is for Yahweh to me, and all the sons of Levi were gathered to him. He says, put each his sword on his side, go back and forth from gate to gate in the camp and kill each brother. Now he's like, all right, we're taking out the ones that are clear and not of the covenant. So on one hand, he's kind of like, please have mercy. So on one hand, it's like the covenant's still there. God's judgment still kicks out in some way.
Right.
Whether that be, we don't have God directly saying, no, go down there and do this. So we're either going to assume that Moses is now taking matters in his own hands, or he's going down and carrying God's judgment.
Right. And I want to be clear, when they say running wild, they don't mean, they're literally, running in circles.
No.
They're doing the weird, grotesque, creepy, gross stuff.
Yes. And that brings us to the next verse 30. And next day Moses said to the people, you have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to Yahweh. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. So he goes down, he's like, okay, nope, there needs to be some kind of judgment. Carries out the judgment. So he's like, again, he's supposed to be on behalf of God. So he's sending out the Levites to go do this task. And he's like, all right, that's been dealt with. Let me go up there and appease God again. So I just told him to relent. This whole thing, like, please relent, please relent, please relent. Come down. And I see that you're still running wild. Let me go up there and make atonement. Let me go up the mountain. Let me ascend the mountain. So I can now send something up to go up the mountain, to go up to vicariously, so you may have atonement. And that's Moses' role, like a large portion of time, is being that interceder for them, because they need someone to go up there for them, to represent them, to say, please forgive them. Forgive them for what they do not know, even for the things that they do know. Forgive them because they're your people. Please show love to them. And man, we're have to pick up next time where we left off. But Moses interceding for them after all of this, like, here's the covenant, here's the way to live, here's what it means to be my people, completely derails immediately. Please for Lent, goes down, brings some judgment, like doesn't kill all of them, just kills the ones that are like clearly going extremely rampant. So let me go make atonement again, so you may be at peace with God.
Yeah. So with all that said, folks, if you would like to see us having bolder and bolder conversations, feel free to like and subscribe, and drop down in the comments below what your thoughts are on these passages, and if you've been finding these discussions helpful or not.
Yeah.
I think we've certainly had a great time with it.
Yeah.
Really deep diving into the text.
I know there's so much more we could go on, but we're also like, look at the time, we got to get rolling.
Yeah, it's midnight right now
for us.
So.
Which is, we weren't sure it was going to be a 2-parter or a 1-parter. I wish it was more parts, but just for the narrative's sake, like, we already saw already how far we can go, and that's still like going deeper into the weeds. Right. So we're going to pick up with the establishment of the tabernacle, which is going to be really, really fun.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. With all that said, Lord willing, we see you guys next time. Peace out.
I'm gonna go home.
Me too.